Okay, ladies and gentlemen, without any further ado, I'd like to introduce the president of the National Academy of Television Arts and Sciences, Chicago Midwest Chapter, John Owens.
Thank you very much. Good evening and welcome to the 30th edition of our Silver Circle Honors presentation. I'm John Owens. I'm the president of the NATA Chicago Midwest Chapter, and tonight we honor the best of the best in the TV industry, something the Chicago chapter of the TV Academy has done since it inducted WGN television executive Sheldon Cooper for our first class back in 1992. So now we'd like to welcome and acknowledge several previous Silver Circle honorees who are with us tonight. We're going to ask them to stand at their table when their names are called. So please hold your applause until the entire group is acknowledged. So Marianne Ahern. Where's Marianne? Jackie Bang. Carol Cartwright. Jim Dish. Where are you, Jim? There you go. Pam Grimes. Where are you, Pam? Carol Marine. Don Mosley. Art Norman. Where are you, Art? Where's Art? Steve Sanders. Cheryl Stutzky. Tom Weinberg. Frank Whitaker. And Jim Williams. Well, one more big round of applause for our Silver Circle honorees who are with us tonight. So our pre-dinner program consists of two things that we at the TV Academy are very proud of: our Crystal Pillar Video Awards and our very robust scholarship program. So now it's my pleasure to introduce the president of our Scholarship Foundation, Carol Cartwright, and the director of our educational initiatives, Dan Magner.
Ladies and gentlemen, we are about to introduce to you these young, talented students who are involved in television production and broadcast journalism. We are very proud to share this evening with our distinguished Silver Circle honorees and television professionals. This chapter of the Academy has an incredible generous and benevolence to all educational initiatives. We often bring pride nationally for our students who go on to win national awards based upon their Crystal Pilling winner entries here. Our chapter has been participating in the NATA Student Production Award program for more than 10 years. High school students involved in television production and broadcast journalism submit in 18 categories similar to the Emmys. The Crystal Pillar winning entries compete nationally with those from chapters across the United States. Many of our judges for these entries are sitting right here in this audience. We partner also with the MMEA, Midwest Media Educators Association, which is comprised of 39 high schools with vibrant media and television departments throughout the Chicagoland area, as well as Southwest Wisconsin, Northwest Indiana, and the Quad Cities. Tonight we present these gifted and talented students who have won Crystal Pillars, the top honors in this Student Production Award initiative. You will have an opportunity to see a short montage of some of the winning entries later in the program. So I begin now with Crown Point High School, Indiana. The category Talent, News, or Sports, Crystal Pillar winners, we have two from Crown Point, Chris Gloth and Rocco Jan. Category News Report, Serious News, Chris Gloff again. Hold up your pillar there. Category Newscast, Madeline Degenhart, Chris Gloff, Rocco Jan, and Claire Patina. Maine West High School, Des Plaines. Category News Report, Light News, Brooke Capper. Maine South High School, Park Ridge. Category Music Video, Noel Semeka. Editor, Nicole Semeka. So from Crown Point, we have two students who have received Crystal Pillars, the same with Maine South. And also from Maine South, public service announcements, Eden Wenning, Lucia Urbane, and Jake Ottolino. Riverside Brookfield High School. Public service announcement, Carter Cozy. Sports program, Sam Egan and Jake O'Brien. Barrington High School, they had trouble getting here, so they have sports program, Austin Molinaro and Chris Kaliko. Deerfield High School, Public Affairs Community Service, William Love. In absentia is a rising star in arts and entertainment and cultural affairs with the entry, TikTok is eating you, YouTube alive. Neuqua Valley High School, Naperville. Category Commercial, Michael Lee. Metea Valley High School, Aurora. Magazine Program category, Lauren Lane, Roshni Ashrit, Ani Apresian, and Zara Salim. Glenbrook South High School, short form fiction, Omar Shoraba, Josh Patt, Noah Collins, Michael Cunningham, Tommy Casey, and lead actor Will Kasher. In the category of editor, Omar Sharaba. In the category of director, Omar Shoraba. So, Carol Marine, I just want you to know Omar is attending DePaul. Sports story or segment, Aiden Manning, Kevin Mahoney, Hank Leahy. Photographer, Hank Leahy. We thank all of these wonderful students, so let their parents take some photos here. All of you can give them a nice big round of applause. And now we are going to let them go and enjoy their dinner, so they're not taken away before the evening is over. Thank you all. Okay, guys. Yeah. Yeah. Now I want to introduce to you again Carol Cartwright, who is going to introduce you to our scholarship recipients. This chapter does a lot with scholarships. You should be proud because these 2 scholarships are funded through your donations of Silver Circle. So you got to speak up.
Yeah. Good evening. It's good to be here, and isn't it good that we can see each other over the table and not on a Zoom screen? Congratulations to all of tonight's inductees of the Silver Circle, broadcasters who have excelled for over 20 years. Tonight's recognition also gives the Television Academy the opportunity to celebrate and introduce the next generation of talented broadcasters through the presentation of 2 college scholarships to 2 outstanding high school future broadcasters. NATA Chicago High School scholarships were added to the college program which already existed in 2004. The combined amount of money that we have raised for scholarships at this point is $610,000. And I want to thank all of you who have had any part of donating and to encourage you to continue to do so because these talented students deserve the help and encouragement that we can give. And not only that, it's not just the money, it's being endorsed by the Television Academy that means a lot to these students. Tonight's high school scholars are smart, talented, determined, and accomplished. And each will receive $2,500 toward college expenses. So meet Robert Nolan Hamilton and, go past me, and Ashley Robinson. Robert is a senior at Prospect High School in Mount Prospect, Illinois. His goal is to become a professional in the sports media world. While at Prospect, he has broadcast 52 live events, more than any other student at the school. And he's also won national awards for his podcasts and multimedia stories. Robert will attend Butler University and major in journalism and creative media. I see we have a Butler University fan here. All right, you should meet with them. Also meet Ashley Robinson. Ashley has a dream of becoming a sports broadcaster. Sports is big this year. Sharing stories of a variety of sports figures, especially those who have overcome obstacles of mental health. Ashley is a senior at Neuqua Valley High School. She is currently the coordinating producer of the school's weekly newscast, Wildcat Weekly. A highlight of her high school experience was being chosen to take part in Northwestern's Medill Cherub Summer Workshop last summer, a prestigious opportunity for her. Ashley will attend George Washington University at the School of Media and Public Affairs. Please congratulate and encourage them. Thank you for your attention and for celebrating these young people. And now we have one more announcement from Dan. Then you can eat.
Don't forget your checks.
No, I won't.
Ladies and gentlemen, I just want to explain to you that we have 85 attendees here tonight. So they are here to see what all the television professionals are doing. But I would like all of our parents who are supporting their students to please stand. Teachers, please stand. All of you, the parents and the teachers. They are what allow our program to succeed. Thank you all.
Again, the president of our chapter of the TV Academy, John Owens.
Thanks, everybody. So good evening, and now it's time to induct 8 extremely deserving television professionals into the Silver Circle. As you know, we were not here in 2020. We're happy to be back with an in-person event this year after postponing our 2020 induction due to the pandemic and opting for a virtual ceremony last fall. So first of all, I'd like to acknowledge that class who we honored virtually, that class of 2021. They are your host for the evening, Jackie Bang. We're so happy to have her here. Director Richard Bernal. Sports anchor Mark Giangreco. News anchor Alan Kraszewski. Investigative and special projects producer Marta LeBeau. And TV station executive Jennifer Lyons. For that Silver Circle class of 2021, we also inducted 4 people posthumously: the carpet man Lynn Haldren, children's programming pioneers Jack and Elaine Mulqueen, and Zoo Parade's Marlon Perkins, the man who's better known as the host of Mutual of Omaha's Wild Kingdom. Yeah, let's give them a round of applause. We're sorry we missed them in person, but we're again glad Jackie could be here. I'd also like to acknowledge and thank tonight's contributing sponsors, starting with ABC as our platinum sponsor. Our table sponsors for this year are CBS 2, NBC 5, and WTTW. Thank you so much for supporting this event. And additionally, additional support from our TV community, The U. Wago Broadcasting's The U will televise a 90-minute version of tonight's show, tonight's presentation, on Sunday, May 29th at 7 p.m. So there are more details about that in your program book. And now to our host for the evening. She's an award-winning reporter and anchor for WGN-TV. She's a mother who's very involved in her community. She's very active on land, in the sky, and in the sea. Yep, she skydives, runs triathlons, and she scuba dives. So here's our host for tonight's Silver Circle presentation. Let's have a big hand for Jackie Bang.
Thank you, John. Skydiving season just opened up if anybody's interested. No, maybe sometime. Well, it has already been so much fun. It has been great to see so many people I haven't seen in a long time. I hope you are also catching up with old friends. It has just been great. So welcome to the Silver Circle 2022, where we honor the best of the best behind the scenes and in front of the camera. And as John said, I was lucky enough to get one last year, and I said last year, of all the awards I've gotten, not a lot, but of all the awards I've gotten, this one meant the most. So I am so happy to be able to share this experience as I did last year with all of you. It is your night, and congratulations to all of you. So we're going to begin first by, remember those young people back there? We're going to recognize them one more time. Will the Student Production Award winners and the scholarship recipients please stand up? You're in broadcasting. You can't be shy. Congratulations. Congratulations to all of you. There are so many of you. This is what we're going to see in the future. All right, let's begin. So every inductee has been in the news business, in the industry, for 25 years or more. I bet you all of you have been in it more than 25 years. You have set the standard. You are among the best, and this is your night to be honored. So, the first inductee, is a good friend of mine. Mr. Derrick Blakley and I work together. We were joking around. We sat next to each other at WMAQ so long ago and just gossiped like old ladies. It was so much fun. But he's been at WMAQ, he has been a CBS correspondent, he was with WBBM as an anchor and reporter. He has been in the market or in the business for 41 years. Did you start at 10? That's what I thought. To present his award is another Silver Circle honoree in 2018, Jim Williams, who happened to be the host last year. Take it away, Jim.
Thank you, Jackie. Every morning, a small group of friends gathered in the southeast corner of the CBS 2 newsroom, hashing out sports and politics, culture and family, spirited discussions loaded with good humor. At the center of this gaggle was Derrick Blakley, the master of all subjects. European history? Yep. Elvis at the Chicago Stadium? Of course. Who led the White Sox in hitting in 1964? Yep. Derrick was the authority. That authority, that command, mixed with his warmth and exquisite manners, made him beloved in our newsroom and among our viewers. Derrick came to journalism through baseball. As a child, he'd watch the games on television, and then the next day read the newspaper accounts, dissecting how the action was described. That led him to the rest of the newspaper. He would keep that discerning eye. Once a print man, then a television reporter, his career took him from Chicago's South Side to the world's capitals. What a thrill it was for me in the 1980s to see this young black man on the CBS Evening News from Rome or Paris or London and find out he was from our very own Chatham. Then to know him, to become his friend, and to confirm that he was indeed the gentleman off camera too. From afar and up close, he was inspirational. In a stressful business, Derrick never lost his cool. He was poised and in control. He maintained his equilibrium even as he battled a life-threatening illness. As our dear friend, former CBS 2 political producer Ed Marshall put it, when you construct a building, you start with a post, something very strong to build around. Derrick was always that post in our newsroom. Indeed, he was. Always wise, always kind, always gracious. Derrick retired from CBS 2 3 years ago, but he's still the journalist, contributing insightful articles to the Center for Illinois Politics and sharing his vast knowledge with students. Young people starting out the journalism or veteran reporters and producers, the audience, his friends, all of us have been enriched by Derrick Blakley.
Chicago's Chatham community in the 1960s. Wilbert and May Blakley, both factory workers, set the stage for their future newsman.
My parents always had a newspaper in the house. We always got the Tribune. We always watched Channel 2, and we always watched CBS News. And I wound up working for all three institutions.
Derrick Blakley's talent was clear at the start. On the student newspaper at Hales Franciscan High School, at Medill and grad school at Illinois. As an intern at the Chicago Tribune, he scored this front page story.
After the papers were up, I went down to the loading dock and saw them loading the papers on the trucks and thought, every one of those papers has my story on the front page. I just floated home. My best day in journalism.
There would be many other exciting days. 2 years at the Tribune.
Ohio's big cities are where the
Then WBNS, the #1 television station in Columbus, Ohio. A veteran Tribune reporter scoffed at Derrick's move into TV.
He said to me, "So you want to be a talking dog, huh?"
Undeterred, the young man from Chicago had a swift rise in broadcasting.
But it's here on Britain's bleak public housing estates.
At 30 years old, he was a foreign correspondent for CBS News.
Derrick Blakley reports from Belfast.
West Berliners don't like it either, but Derrick Blakley reports they seem resigned to its existence.
They have come across an economic bonanza that seems too good to be true. Derrick Blakley reports.
Throughout Europe and the Middle East, he racked up the frequent flyer miles.
Derrick Blakley, CBS News, London, Liverpool,
Belfast,
Berlin, Stockholm.
And impressed viewers with his eloquence and sophistication.
It was an incredible experience.
Less than an hour before the scheduled kickoff, the soccer ground became a killing ground.
You were constantly learning and absorbing.
Halfway between Iceland and Scotland, in the frigid waters of the North Atlantic.
Every time you got on a plane, you were being immersed in a new culture.
In the 1980s, he brought that wealth of experience home to Chicago, anchoring and reporting for NBC5.
And right now, we are under a high wind advisory.
CBS 2 lured him to McClure Court in 2003.
It's wonderful to sit next to Derrick Blakley.
Good afternoon, and thanks for joining us. I'm Derrick Blakley.
I'm Marianne Childers.
Where he joined Marianne Childers on the anchor desk.
When Derrick Blakley was there, you knew the adult was in the room. He had perspective, he had insight, he was thoughtful, and maybe more important than all, he knew what was important to Chicagoans. He got Chicago.
That deep knowledge of the city and its history infused his coverage of politics.
So you're going to start running now like a front runner as opposed to an underdog?
No, we're the underdog.
He made sure that every story had some perspective so that you could understand what it was that was being reported that day, instead of just regurgitating what a politician said and then getting a reaction from the opponent.
He was a tough reporter, but in the field and in our newsroom, Derrick was always gracious, making time for interns and new employees.
His insistence that I come with him and that I watch how he does it and that I learn is really what propelled me into my career. You know, some of the things that I learned watching him 10 years ago are things that I apply today.
You kind of live that to whom much is given, much is expected, because that was kind of ingrained in us, you know, growing up, and I think Derrick lives that.
A witness who took dramatic cell phone video. It started with a pain in his hip 12 years ago. Derrick had multiple myeloma, a blood cancer. He battled chemo, a stem cell transplant, a rod inserted in his leg.
It gives you a different perspective. It makes you grateful for every day, and it makes you understand that every day is an opportunity not to be wasted.
On the job or in the hospital, Derrick Blakley was unflappable.
That calmness is real, and I'm convinced that that is a big part of why he, so far, has been able to at least hold this disease to a draw, and why he continues to live a healthy and happy life and is an inspiration to so many of his friends.
Derrick faced a health challenge that I think would have broken many people. Talk about someone who never complained, took it in stride, but what courage.
Courage, tenacity, wisdom, and kindness, hallmarks of an extraordinary life.
I cannot imagine another way to earn a living, to make a career, and a way that was any more intriguing or exciting or fulfilling.
Ladies and gentlemen, I am so proud to say, welcome, Derrick Blakley.
Ooh, wow. Thank you from the bottom of my heart. I want to thank the Television Academy for this tremendous honor. I guess it's a good thing I kept checking in that TV Academy membership dues all those years.
You know, no one establishes and maintains a career in this business without people who believe in them. I'd like to take the time to recognize some very special people who took a chance on me. Most of these names won't be familiar to you, but it's important that I name them. First, Sheila Wolf, a pioneering female editor at the Chicago Tribune who ran the internship program and was foolish enough to hire me in 1974 as a summer reporter. Sheila, thank you. The late Bill Vance, a feisty news director at the #1 station in Columbus, Ohio. Bill hired me on the recommendation of a Northwestern professor for a TV reporting job when the only thing I knew about TV was how to turn one on. And he did it without asking to see anything I had written, without asking for a writing test or an on-camera test. I'm pretty sure that things like that don't happen anymore, and they didn't happen very often back then either. Bill, thank you. The late John Lane and Jack Smith, two sons of Ireland with deep Chicago roots, both legendary CBS News executives. They hired me at the age of 26 to be a CBS reporter in Chicago. John and Jack, thank you. The late Mark Harrington, simply the smartest man I ever worked for, and maybe the kindest too. He was a CBS bureau chief in London who helped revive my career. Mark, thank you. Dick Lobo and Dick Reingold, the GM and news director at NBC5, who hired me as a street reporter in Chicago after my run with the network ended. Gentlemen, thank you. And Joe Ahern, the longtime Chicago TV exec who hired me as a weekday anchor at CBS 2. Joe, thanks for all you did. And finally, Marianne Childers, the queen of Chicago TV news, who treated me like royalty. Marianne, deeply appreciated. As I said, no one makes it alone in this business. It's a team sport. And I'm indebted as well to the countless producers and writers, videographers, technicians, and video editors who made me look better than I should each and every day. Especially my partner in crime while political reporting at CBS 2, political producer Ed Marshall, who shared his golden Rolodex and his endless well of wisdom. Ed, thank you. And then there's my family. My late mother and father, who showed confidence in my chosen career path. My ex-wife, Linda, who allowed me to drag her halfway around the world and back again, although I think she still hasn't forgiven me for booking her and my son on that Aeroflot flight to Moscow. She's not here. She is watching my baby grandson so that my son, Jonathan, and his wonderful wife, Erin, could be here. And of course, my lovely wife, Felicia. We are newlyweds, you know, married just last August. She boldly took on the challenge of teaching an old dog new tricks. Thank you. My thanks and my love to my family. When I won a local Emmy Award in Ohio in 1980, I said something I'd like to repeat. We are not performers, we are informers. I still believe that today. No reporter is more important than the story they are telling. People give us their stories to tell, precious pieces of their very lives. And it is our sacred trust to do right by them, to pay back their confidence. And tonight, I am honored to be honored by so many who do that so well. Well, unfortunately, my time's almost up, so I don't have time to tell you about all the wacky TV stuff. This is a wacky business. And if you've been in it for more than 30 days, you find that out. So I don't have time to tell you about the time I was fired, rehired, and promoted at CBS 2, all within a single weekend. Or the time I was given $30,000 in cash to take the CBS cruise covering a famine in Ethiopia. And I broke down in a panic when I reached Addis Ababa and thought I had lost the money. So I was left to ponder, is it better for my bosses to think I'm incompetent or to think I'm a thief? Or the time me and my CBS crew, Skip Brand, Jim Thale, and Randy Wolf, spent a harrowing, hot, and sweaty evening in a cinder block interrogation room at the Guyana airport, wondering if we would ever get out of there alive. Well, I guess you'll have to buy the book, or at least buy me a stiff drink at the bar. Once again, thanks to you all, both my colleagues and my competitors. Thanks for the memories, and good night.
Don't forget the important part. Take that with you. Our second inductee, I don't know how many times I passed her in the hallways. Hi, how you doing? I had no idea the depth and the range of talent that she possessed for creating sets, not just at WGN, but at every station and beyond. Mary Margaret Bartley. Bartley, wow, you have an amazing career. And Steve Novak will be presenting her award. Steve is a familiar face, former president of NATAS, and we kind of cross in the hallways too at WGN TV. He is a director there.
Good evening. For those of you who know me, this is going to be a surprise. I'm going to be brief. Look at this crowd. Our first live in-person event in 2 years, and it's my favorite one. I love the Silver Circle Honors because it pays homage to the past by honoring the true visionaries that brought us to this point, and also gives us hope for the future when we look at our Crystal Pillar winners, and it gives us a lot of hope for the future. Take a look around this beautiful room. It really sets the tone for this event. And the person I'm about to introduce certainly knows a lot about the impact a dynamic set can have on a show. I'm sure that in every school picture, Mary Margaret was in the front row, but her small size belies the fact that she's a true giant in the Chicago broadcast industry. Mary Margaret Bartley, one of the 2 M's in M&M production design, along with her partner Mickey Lowenstein, have created some of the most iconic sets in Chicago television history for over 30 years. Mary Margaret understands production design from both a television and a theatrical standpoint. She brings creativity to every project and makes each project shine. Mary Margaret realizes that the set is not the star, but a brilliant set can create a mood and set a feeling that can make the production special. Long before the days of computer-aided design, you could tell when Mary Margaret was in the house by her 3D cardboard mock-ups of sets, complete with little tiny people and cameras. Now, I can't tell you how many times I accidentally moved something just to see if she could figure out what she had to do to make it right. Sadly enough, I found out she always had the way to make any of my challenges work better than I thought they would. There's an adage in the production business: time, quality, and money. Pick 2. Mary Margaret is the exception to this rule. By collaborating with her clients, she constantly delivers a high-quality sets on time and on budget. That is a rarity in our business. It is my pleasure to introduce someone I consider my friend and a true giant for induction into the 2022 class of the Television Academy Silver Circle. Ladies and gentlemen, Mary Margaret Bartley.
One of the shows I worked on when I came to Chicago was the hottest ticket, the most difficult ticket to get in town, the Bozo Show. I was able to do the 30th anniversary of the Bozo Show and Bozo Saved Christmas by finding shoeless Joe Jackson's shoes. And if you look carefully at the striped wallpaper behind them, it's Velcro, which allows for very quick set change. Designing family classics with Roy Leonard was a great, fun thing to do. It was great to do Chicago Tonight with John Calloway. You'll hear more about it tonight because of Phil Ponce, who was the second host on the show. And I got to work with Gene and Roger. We did If We Picked the Winners, because you couldn't use the word of the award. So it was a fun challenge, and I thought, well, why not surround them with film strips? And so, by the magic of television, this plastic impregnated screen wire painted and lit to look like film. One of the challenges of television is to help figure out where to set the show. So when No Bull, hosted by Phil Jackson, was going to be taped, I thought, why don't we make an ideal office for Phil Jackson? So we created an office full of memorabilia, and it had a view overlooking the stadium. This never existed, just in the mind and just in the studio. The first time I met Phil Jackson, he was seated, and I was just about at eye level. A fun shoot was with Mike Ditka and the coaches of the NFL in Coach Talk. I designed a ceiling piece, which in order to show in the wide shot had to be quite low. So when the talent walked in, the ceiling was about at eye level with them, and they had to duck their heads to sit down at the table. The Tuskegee Airmen was a great project to work on. I did a lot of research, and I took blow-ups of some of the actual airmen and placed it against the sky. James Earl Jones was the host, and a number of the airmen actually came in and saw their pictures of themselves as young people. We also created a war room as his background. The Essence Awards wanted a grand entrance for the women who were being honored. There's a grand staircase. They appeared out of doors that were invisible until the lights came on and came down the stairway to the podium where they spoke. Well, it's really exciting to come up with the idea and then to share it with a group of people who are going to be involved with the production. And then when you actually see it live on camera, it's very exciting. It's come to life. You know, it's like perfect in my mind, but then it appears on the camera. It's kind of like magic.
Ladies and gentlemen, I am pleased to introduce Mary Margaret Bartley.
Thank you for this great honor, TV Academy, and thank you for your gracious words, Steve. What an incredible blessing to create with such a host of talented people, way too many to thank by name this evening. Thank you to the producers, directors, writers, talent, all who are just the tip of the iceberg. Well, tonight I want to thank the rest of the iceberg, the behind-the-scenes people who bring my ideas and designs to reality, without whom my work would not be possible. The carpenters, scenic artists, lighting designers, props people, stagehands, and many more. A special thanks to Mickey Lowenstein, whose generosity helped me take my theater design talent and use it for television. And to my family, especially my husband, Stuart Clark, and my friends who love and support me and my work. Above all, to God, the source of my imagination, creativity, and love. Thank you all so much.
On to our third inductee. I just met her, and what a delightful young lady. She is always positive, she always has a smile, and she's a traffic reporter. How can that be? Over 30 years as a traffic reporter for WLS, Roz Varon. Presenting her award is another beloved member of WLS, Jose Sanders.
It's a long way for an old man. Hello, everybody. I'm Jose Sanders. And I am thrilled to be here to celebrate a woman I lovingly call the traffic goddess. I want to tell you a little bit about my friend Rosalind Varon. Rosalind. But what can I say about my buddy Roz in such polite company? One of the things they tell you in journalism school is do not bury the lead, so I won't. Roz is not only a trailblazing professional broadcaster, one of the very best at what she does, but she's also a phenomenal person. She practically invented TV traffic reporting, and she's also, however, good at feature reporting, and she's great at hosting. She's just great on TV, amazing. Having worked with her since 1994, I'm a witness that she can talk about anything for as long as you want or as quickly as you need, down to the very second. That's not only a skill, but that's an art form, which is very much appreciated by producers. Now, she can tell you a shortcut for every place, every corner in the city and suburbs, can explain in plain English just how to get there. Before GPS, I had Roz. Just about a little bit about her as a person. She proudly represents Maine East High School, Columbia College, and most of all, the city of Chicago. She's a woman of faith who is active in her own Oak Park Temple and has a close relationship with Reverend Marshall Hatch's New Mount Pilgrim Missionary Baptist Church on the west side. Let the ballroom say amen. Amen. She is a passionate animal lover who once told a certain morning anchor that he needed a dog. She told him over and over and over again that he needed a dog. Well, now that person loves dogs more than most people, or so I've heard. Don't forget, Roz is also a published author. Her book is called On the Road with Roz, Adventures in Travel and Life. Available on Amazon or wherever books are sold. Get your copy today. Well, speaking of that, once we went to a book signing at the DuSable Museum. A lot of people came out to see her, but I really remember one grandmother saying, "There's Roz, my traffic lady." And she brought her friend, her good little friend, Hosea Williams. But you must know this, when Roz has your back, she truly, truly has your back. I was diagnosed with cancer a few years ago. Roz was the first person at my house with information and resources, and most of all, encouragement, because she had been there. When the cancer came back, she came back with love and a whole lot of food, because the girl can cook. She can cook. Let's give her an award for that alone. Another quick example, not too long ago, I lost my mother and brother within a month of each other. They passed away. Roz talked me through that pain, told me it was okay to grieve in my own way. no matter how long that took. She's just that kind of friend. So quite simply, Roz is a part of the fabric of this city that she loves so dearly. And everything she does on air and in this community is a reflection of that affection for Chicago. The bottom line, I am thrilled to see her getting her flowers, as we say, while she can still smell them. In the past, when we go to events like this, I'd always try to sit next to my friend, my buddy Jack, who was Roz's late father. It was really such a highlight for me spending time with my buddy swapping stories. And at the table, her beautiful mom, Bee, would often give us that look that said, "Hold it down, boys," when we laughed a little too loudly at just the wrong time. I bring that up, that memory, just to let you know, Roz, that I'm sure Jack is here tonight enjoying this beautiful evening, this amazing recognition among with all of us. And I know for a fact, Jack Varon is very, very proud, as am I. Congratulations to my friend, Roz Varon.
College, there was this opportunity to do traffic in Chicago. And you didn't have to know how to do traffic. They just wanted somebody that had radio experience. So I applied, I got it, and that was the beginning.
We're looking at massive delays on I-94.
Roz just moved seamlessly into that role. She had her experience in radio, which was a perfect marriage between her experience in radio and, of course, moving that to television.
Eyewitness News traffic reporter Roz Varon is on the Dan Ryan right now. Roz, welcome to the team.
Thank you, Linda.
And, of course, moving that to television with traffic reports at that time on the 7s, and she was there consistently through each hour.
Roz invented traffic on television. She is the leader in this industry. And I watched her this morning, and she's still fantastic.
So we still have 3 to 4 miles of heavy traffic in each direction.
I've talked with Roz on the phone or over the two-way radio just about every weekday for the past 19 and a half years. Actually, some mornings I feel like I talk to Roz more than my wife.
When you say Roz, everyone knows who you're talking about. It's Roz Varon. I mean, you've got Oprah, you got Cher. She actually can go by the moniker.
This is a picture of Roz with us when Oprah visited the morning show. And remember what Oprah famously said about Roz? That she is the only traffic anchor who can make traffic look exciting. And it's true! The feature stories, Weekender, one-tank trips, that's the fun stuff. I love doing that stuff because then I can get kooky and crazy and you really see my personality. And nothing says Halloween like head on a platter, right? The spooky decor will be up through the end of the month. Namaste.
She is fearless. She will do anything. And as a photographer, that's great. Holy cow! You're doing a circus story or something, you can tell her, you know what, Roz, I think we need you up on the trapeze. And she'll be like, where's the ladder?
Look, Ma, no hands.
We have some difficult news that we want to share with you about our colleague, Roz Varon. Roz is now battling breast cancer.
I started my chemo last week. I had my first chemo session. It's going to be a long haul for me, but I don't want any of you to worry because I am so upbeat about this. I know that I'm going to win this battle. When I was diagnosed with stage 4 breast cancer, it was a no-brainer. I immediately felt like I needed to let people know, to bring people in. These wigs, you know, they get itchy, don't they?
Yes.
Okay, you ready?
Yeah.
Go for it. Woohoo! Because viewers are like our second family.
Weather and traffic and weather, me and Roz were never more together when I found out I had breast cancer. And Roz brought me such support, knowing that she had been through that.
What I love about Roz is how committed she is to her family.
What you see is what you get. I mean, you know, she's very genuine on television. She's very genuine in her live shots.
Here we are, the curly girls, curly hair, curly hair. Somebody will come up to me and say, hey, aren't you Roz Varon's daughter? Or something like that. I'm like, yes.
Having the support of my family is key.
And I don't know if how many people really know how hard she really works. She never stops. She just goes.
Being inducted
in the Silver Circle is the ultimate honor. To have the respect of so many peers is just beyond comprehension, and it means a great deal to me.
She's navigated so many thousands of people through this city. She's the go-to. She's the go-to.
I proudly bring to you Roz Varon.
Okay, I can't even tell you how many times I almost came to tears watching this. And this is so overwhelming, so overwhelming. I want to thank everybody at the National Academy of Television Arts and Sciences. I've been on the board for over 20 years, and it is one of the most amazing things. I love being a part of NATAS, and to have this award from NATAS, it means so much to me, so thank you for that. Thank you to all of the management, former and present at ABC7, who had the faith and really believed in me and confidence in me. 33 years I've been there. It is my first and only television job. That doesn't happen. Well, I guess it does once. And to my mom, B. Varon, who is having some health challenges, but I know my sister Pam is FaceTiming her right now so she can see this. Mom, I love you so much. I really wish you could be here. You know, she was the one who taught me direction. She was the one who said, the lake is east, that's your focal point. The rest is, you know, piece of cake from there. A lot of folks have talked throughout the video and in general about how I was the first television traffic anchor, and I'll tell you a quick story about that. Jamie Nicholas, who is the manager of press and publicity at ABC7, many years ago, we sat down and she said to me, you know, were you the first person to do traffic on television? I said, I don't know. She goes, did anybody do this before 1989? I said, I don't know, let's research it. So we both researched and we looked and looked, and I couldn't find any other station that had traffic on their television morning news, and neither could she. So I said, guess what? I'm claiming it. And if anybody finds different, don't tell me, because I don't want to know. I'm still claiming it. A couple other quick anecdotes. Groundbreaking, it's interesting, because at the time, I really didn't feel like it was. I found out that Channel 7 and Channel 5, actually, they both started a morning newscast at the same time, and they were both looking to incorporate traffic because they felt it was important in the morning for people to be able to hear that on television, hear it, see it while they're getting ready for work, school, whatever. And so I applied at Channel 7. Everybody who applied at Channel 7, we all came from radio. Because I did radio traffic for 9 years. That's why Bart Shore was in that video. I did radio traffic for 9 years before I got the job at Channel 7. So everybody who auditioned came from radio, and we were all terrible. None of us knew how to do chroma key. None of us knew what chroma key was. And we just did the best we could. And my first audition, I didn't get it. And after I had a pity party for myself and then said, wait a minute, your only competition here is you, because everybody else is in the same boat. So you need to be better. So I went back to Columbia College. My radio department chair, Al Parker, who was a booth announcer at Channel 7 at the time, some of you folks who are my age know this, and I said, I need to make a better audition tape. So he put me in touch with some folks in the south suburbs who had a production company, and I said, here's what I want to do, because after I had auditioned and had blown it, they said, here, you know, I want to sit down at an anchor desk and I want to say, and look into the camera, give the traffic, and go, Alan, thank you, back to you. I said, I want to stand on a bridge over an expressway. So we went over the Calumet Expressway, now the Bishop Ford Freeway, and I had travel time supered underneath me, and we did that. And I put this together, and that video you saw with me standing next to a drawn map, my cousin, Dan Tarragano, made that map. He drew that map because he was in graphics and artists. And it was from an IDOT map that I used. And I sat there and I pointed to this map and I said, hey, if they do it for weather, why can't we do it for traffic? Same thing, right? And so I made this videotape and I turned it in and I wrote this eloquent letter to Joe Ahern, the general manager at the time, and I said, hey, you know, okay, maybe I'm not as experienced as some of your other reporters and anchors, but you give me 2 weeks and I promise you I will be just as good as any one of them. Okay, maybe 2 weeks was kind of fudging it a little bit, but I'll never forget sitting in the radio station that afternoon and getting the phone call. Roz, there's a phone call from you for Joe Ahern. And I answered the phone, and he said, be careful what you wish for. It might come true. I'm offering you a job. And it was my first television job, and I've been there ever since. I trained. I shadowed Alan Kraszewski, okay? They said, you're going to do traffic in the morning, but you're going to also cover the transportation beat. So you're going to work with Alan for a week, and he's going to show you how to write a story, how to do a television story, a package. I didn't know how to do that. I didn't know how to do any of this stuff. And so I learned, and I worked hard, and my husband is right. I do work hard, too hard sometimes. But I do work hard because I have such a strong work ethic, and I am so grateful and so fortunate to be where I am, to have done what I have done, to meet the people I have met along the way. It's an incredible job, and it's so much more than just traffic reporting. And I feel so blessed to have friends like Jose, who I love dearly, and my friends from college, my family, my old friends, my new friends like Yolanda, everybody who is here. The only thing that is still on my bucket list, I really want to dance with Terrell on our New Year's Eve special. Then I will feel like I have made it. Thank you very much.
Okay, now we would like to honor our friends and loved ones who are no longer with us. We have 3 posthumous awards. And the first one goes to a gentleman that I like to call a gentleman photographer. He is not only a fantastic, or was not only a fantastic CBS2 photojournalist, he was a mentor to kids. He was cool under pressure. He was this tall, statuesque guy that we would always see out in the streets. None other than Morris V. Jones. And we have a snapshot of his excellent work. Let's take a look. Can I say roll tape, even though it's probably outdated?
Morris Jones's ability to tell stories with video he shot and edited was his ticket to travel the world. During his 4-decade career with CBS2, his travels included the 1994 Winter Olympics in Norway, and in that same year, the presidential inauguration of Nelson Mandela in South Africa.
During my exclusive interview with President Mandela,
Jones journeyed to South Africa with reporter John Davis, who says the historic significance of Mandela's presidency wasn't the only thing Morris wanted to cover.
He enjoyed even more the ability to walk around South Africa, to enjoy the people, to get close to the people who had struggled so long for freedom. Morris wanted to tell their story. He wanted to get into the grain of South Africa, if you will. He just thoroughly enjoyed his stay there.
South Africa was indeed a giant step for Morris, the son of a pharmacist who owned a drugstore on Chicago's South Side. After spending a few years at TV stations WMAQ and WGN, Morris joined WBBM television as a cameraman in 1976. He enjoyed shooting and editing and solving problems.
I was on an assignment with him once,
covering something big. I don't remember what it was. And the tape deck in the truck was not working, which was actually a crisis at that time. No big deal. He found a tavern. He walked next door. He bought 2 shots of vodka. He came back to the truck. He took out a cotton swab, and using the swab and the vodka, he methodically cleaned the heads in the tape deck in the truck, and it worked.
Of course it worked. It worked because Morris loved all things technical. He was both a shooter and a troubleshooter during the Chicago Bulls' incredible 6 NBA championships in the 90s. And Morris enjoyed sharing what he knew, from showing up at career days to holding his own impromptu show and tells on the street.
He made sure that if there were young people around us watching us do our job, for instance, in the neighborhoods, he would bring them over afterwards and let them see the camera, let them see the equipment, that this was something that they could do if they made their mind up to in fact, pursue a career as a videographer in the news business.
Good morning from Washington, where this morning's ceremonies don't start until 11.
Morris covered countless historic events, including President Barack Obama's second inauguration in January of 2013. He requested that assignment, traveling to Washington with Jay Levine, thinking it may be his last opportunity to cover a major event in his career. Just a few years later, in 2016, Morris passed away from cancer. His life and accomplishments are celebrated by his wife Phyllis and his brothers David Jones and Leland Barnes. During their 42 years of marriage, Disney World was the destination of choice for Morris and Phyllis, having vacationed there more than 50 times. It was always a welcome break for Morris, who had not only survived, but thrived in the challenging world of photojournalism.
It's a tough physical job, it's a tough mental job, and it requires a political acumen when you're dealing with people on the street. You're dealing with crime victims, you're dealing with police officers, you're dealing with traffic people, you're dealing with homeowners, business owners, people who don't want to see a TV truck with the big CBS eye on the side of it. And so Morris had a way of communicating with strangers and other people. He was very charming, and I think that had a lot to do with why he was so successful as one of these live mini truck operators for so many years.
Morris V. Jones, who always brought skill, determination, and empathy to his assignments, we now celebrate as a member of the Television Academy's Silver Circle.
Accepting the award, Phyllis Jones.
Thank you so much. I am so grateful and thankful to everyone who's responsible for Morris receiving such a high honor. I know if he was here, he would be totally surprised and full of gratitude. So I want to thank everyone, and God bless you all. Thank you.
From the gentleman photographer to the gentleman reporter. I was very, very new to WMAQ in 1989. They sent me to a very complicated story. The local school council were just building up. And Dick Johnson looked at me and said, "They sent you on this?" And then he helped me, and I never forgot that. That was Dick Johnson. WMAQ, WLS, he has made his mark. We would like to celebrate his life. Enjoy his video.
Good morning from McHenry.
He wrote the book on how to be a journalist.
A heart as big as a hug. If you knew Dick and you ever saw him and he gave you a bear hug, it's the greatest feeling in the world.
He never met an enemy. So when he walked into a room, either a fun story or a tough story, everybody was his friend quickly.
By the time Dick Johnson arrived in Chicago, he was already a major market reporter who had just covered one of the biggest stories of our time. Dick was on Air Force Two to interview then Vice President George H.W. Bush after the assassination attempt on President Ronald Reagan.
Good morning, Dick.
Good morning, Kathy and Alan.
Dick and I began our Chicago stories on the same day back in October of 1982 when we were both hired by ABC7. For 20 years, I had the opportunity to see his professionalism firsthand. I will never forget his live reporting on our morning news in 1992 as he was the first person on the scene in what became known as the Great Chicago Flood.
622. A little slow in the uptake, but too much turkey yesterday.
In 2002, NBC5 lured Dick across the street to anchor the morning newscast from Studio 5, the city's first street front studio off Michigan Avenue.
Dick was without question the foundation of the morning show. He was the pilot in command, and we all fed off him, and he was our leader.
You all know Dick was a phenomenal journalist, an excellent writer. But my favorite part about him was just how goofy he could be and how he never took himself too seriously, which was perfect for the morning show we did together.
Dick was a journalist first, but he was born to perform, an actor in college at his beloved DePauw University. He was blessed with a great singing voice that later filled the stage in community theater. He was kind to the people in front of the camera and behind it, never forgetting to feed his photogs, and of course, himself.
He liked to stop and get a meal along the way. I mean, Dick was great. Yeah, that's right. We'd go to Culver's together, and Dick was he was a joy to be around.
Even after 40 years in the business and winning virtually every award, make no mistake, Dick Johnson was a fierce competitor. This former political science major loved covering the rough and tumble world of Chicago politics.
You had better bring your A game if you were going to work with Dick Johnson.
He loved being in the action. He was always curious. All those years of reporting, he still loved to know what was going on. If something was breaking, he'd say, "What's going on?" He wanted to be there.
He worked so hard on every single script, no matter what the story was, city council, whatever. You always heard a signature sentence from Dick, and you knew it was his writing, and he put that in to the last day he worked.
Today, it's the home of chain link fences and weeds. If you want to play baseball here now, you got to bring your own bat. It's the field of broken dreams.
In my book, Dick Johnson was the best kind of journalist. He was curious, never afraid to ask the question, and he cared. Not only about the people he covered, but the people he worked alongside. He knew all of our stories, and he was loyal. When his friend and my co-anchor Rob Stafford was out on medical leave, he had his back and covered every newscast. Later, keeping his own diagnosis quiet, facing pulmonary fibrosis with courage as he kept on working.
He always took the time for everybody. He was a guy who seemed to have all the time in the world. None of us do. But he made the most out of every second of his life, and he had a great life.
I didn't really realize until after he passed away about how many people he mentored and how many people thought he was their very close friend.
He gave me invaluable advice and support throughout my career. And that's who DJ was. He was a talented journalist, but amongst a sea of talented journalists, he also had a big heart. He was one of a kind. It was a privilege to sit next to him for 5 years and call him my friend.
I miss you, Dick. I miss catching up with you at our lunches. You may have been my TV husband, but you became my forever friend.
I miss him. I think of him often. His smile would light up a room.
That's our news and weather for this Sunday evening. Sports Sunday is next.
I thank you for recognizing that he earned this distinction. His life and his career deserve to be celebrated. And so, congrats, DJ.
Tonight, we wish Dick were here to accept the honor he was always going to receive. We thank his wife Lauren and their children Griffin, Parker, and McLean for sharing DJ with all of us for so many years.
Dick Johnson, NBC5 News.
Accepting the award, Lauren, his wife.
I miss you all so much. You were such a part of our family, and now that I'm in Traverse City, I guess just wanted to say what a great family you were to my husband also. But I don't know if you realize it, but Dick and I both went to DePaul University in Greencastle, Indiana. He was the news director. I was the radio talk show hostess. Senior year, he was one of the few students to receive an internship at Channel 13 in Indianapolis. After a month, just a month in January, they said to Dick at the end of January, "Hey, you want to come work for us in May?" He said, "Sure." So, first person on the DePaul campus to get a job. He ended up at Channel 13 in Indianapolis. They gave him a microphone and sent him out on a story, and the rest is history. But I received many letters from interns after he passed away. It was amazing to me how many young people he touched, and I think he was sort of paying it forward after his experience. So I just sort of summarized something that this intern said in her letter, and I think it sort of tells it all. Many years ago, I was Dick's summer intern. There's not a day that goes by that I don't think of the many lessons I learned from him. What questions need answers? It's all about making people feel comfortable. Start with the most interesting fact. Chicago is a city of neighborhoods. Get to know them. He was determined to teach me and the world he loved, Chicago and journalism. He flung open the doors of different worlds I had never encountered. His work pulsed with the paradox of life. Tragic deaths one day, and the next, the Blackhawks winning the national championship. The first day I watched him compassionately interview parents who had lost a child drowning in an accident, later chased a tornado, and then covered the arrest of Scott Elby in the Riley Fox murder. He knew and loved Chicago, and Chicago knew and loved him. He mingled with the residents of Englewood to Wilmette with equal ease. He was a familiar face, warm, compassionate. People trusted him to tell their story. Sometimes after covering the story, we would each write our draft and compare. Dick would say, "Is your quote totally accurate? Is there a better adjective to use to describe that event? Is that the best lead?" It was an education you could never receive in a classroom. Rest in peace, Dick Johnson. Chicago will miss you. The world of journalism will miss you. And one former intern will never forget the world you opened to her in just one summer. Thank you, TV Academy, for the honor. I know Dick is looking down with that big smile, so thank you.
Our final posthumous awardee, I don't know if you did this at a certain age, Sundays I think it was, just wrapped at the TV set. The dancers, the music, the Soul Train. Don Cornelius. He was not only the host, he was the executive producer. He was ahead of his time. He broke barriers. To give his award tonight is his son, Tony. Tony is, by video, he will speak. But first, in 2012, when Don Cornelius passed away, WCIU, his first place where he worked, provided a highlight reel. Take a look at what he has done.
Soul Train VTR 12273, take one.
Hi, I'm Don Cornelius, and what you're about to see is a very special program.
Don Cornelius, the man who pioneered a music and cultural phenomenon, the man who turned an idea into an empire, the man with passion, vision, and the voice.
Right now, we'd like to hit you to the Soul Train line. It gives everybody a chance to kind of style a while, and it's something you might want to get into on your own at parties or dances.
The 1970s ushered in social and economic change in the United States that became the golden age of both television and music. This cultural movement had a soundtrack and dance moves that entered homes across America. With little more than a dream, Don Cornelius became the unintended catalyst for that change. Donald Cortez Cornelius was born in 1936 and raised in the Bronzeville neighborhood on the south side of Chicago, the cultural Harlem of Chicago during that time. He attended DuSable High School, which had other notable alumni such as Nat King Cole, Red Fox, and Mayor Harold Washington. Don held several jobs over the next decade, from a tire salesman to a Chicago police officer to even selling insurance.
Don got the job because he was very persuasive, and he always dressed very dapper and had that big fro, and he looked good and everything. And so before I knew it, Don was in there working. Called me up and he said, thanks a lot, I'm working.
On the job as a Chicago police officer, Don pulled over a car for speeding. This chance encounter changed his life and shifted the course of music, television, and radio forever.
Roy Wood, who was the news director, had been stopped by Don because Don was a policeman at the time, full-time, and he liked his voice. And Roy said, hey, you got a really great voice, good voice for radio. Why don't you come over to WVON and see if maybe we can do something for you in news? And it turned out he went over there and actually got a job.
WVON, which stood for the Voice of the Negro, was the only African-American radio station on air at that time.
The Black Giant. WVON, Giant Sound of Soul.
And with that velvet voice, Don hit the air. He knew that he finally found a job that he loved.
We had a tight-knit group at WVON, and if the guy was okay with Roy Wood, naturally he was okay with us, and we were friends.
Reporting the news is what got him on air, but Don's true passion was, of course, music. And whenever possible, he filled in as a DJ.
The guys who were on the air had their own permanent slots, so the weekend was the only opportunity.
After a few years at WVON, Roy Wood invited Don to start working in television at WCIU Channel 26. It was a fitting transition as Don landed his first on-camera job as a reporter on a black's view of the news.
We're going to take our first call. Hello?
Yes.
Yes, do you have an opinion as to who our most effective and relevant black leader is?
But music was always in the back of his mind. He knew that it was time to reveal his vision, but not everyone shared his optimism.
A show like you're going to call it Soul Train? I said, that'll never make it. That'll never make it.
All Don needed was one person to share his vision, WCIU's chairman, Howard Shapiro.
And then one day I said, hey, Howard, let me try this. And he said, it sounds stupid, but okay, let's try it.
However, it came with a price.
The radio station called him in, and they said, you know, you're going to have to do one or the other. Either you're going to do that TV show or you're going to do radio.
Don parted ways with WVON, and on August 17, 1970, live from the Chicago Board of Trade building with a room full of teenagers, Jerry Butler, the Shy Lights, and the Emotions, Soul Train debuted on WCIU with Don Cornelius as host.
The studio was so small, but the music and the energy, and I said, oh my God, this is a heck of a show.
It had the buzz. Everybody talked about the Soul Train show. It was so new, and it was daring.
National recording artists such as B.B. King, the Staple Singers, and the OJs lined up as some of the earliest guests on the show.
It was a big hit right away. Everybody jumped in on it. Reverend Jackson found it exciting and used to come over regularly. And the mail was very, very strong in the calls to dance. So it was obvious we had a lot of people watching.
Kids raced home to see Soul Train, and more importantly, to see themselves. Soul Train had 3 stars on the show: Don Cornelius, the musicians, and of course, the Soul Train dancers.
When I was downtown, I saw the lines around the building of teenagers trying to get in for the taping.
Don oversaw every piece of the production, including the advertising.
And the very first sponsor became a black hair care product and company was Ultra Sheen Products.
New Afro Sheen Blowout Kit.
It could rock your world.
He introduced major national advertisers to the power and the buying power of African Americans just via that show.
And once Don had the advertisers, he knew it was time for the next step: Hollywood and national syndication.
Represent a mighty mountain of soul, the very gifted and talented Gladys Knight and the dancing, swinging, singing Pips.
Very impressed by, of course, the change of sets, the lighting, and the product at the time.
It was a hit. It never looked back.
What was amazing to all of us non-believers was that everybody in the United States was looking at the Soul Train dance show on TV.
Soul Train and Don Cornelius had arrived, and his contributions to the music, television, and radio industry were felt immediately. Suddenly, black artists had a consistent outlet to be seen and heard.
Here's a guy from Chicago who did so much for African Americans in the television industry, not only to get shows on, but to have an outlet for African American R&B performers.
Soul Train and Don Cornelius brought to life that we can do it too.
Don Cornelius, a true broadcasting visionary who changed the television and music industries forever.
Last money, it's always going to be a stone gas, honey. I'm Don Cornelius, and as always in parting, we wish you love, peace, and...
This will be mailed to Tony, his son. He could not make it tonight, so here is a video of his acceptance for his father.
Hi, I'm Tony Cornelius, and I'm honored to be here virtually this evening among all the distinguished guests and honorees. On behalf of my father, Don Cornelius, our immediate family, and the millions who've enjoyed 35 uninterrupted seasons of soul, we thank you. One of my fondest memories was his smile whenever we mentioned Soul Train being the longest running, nationally syndicated, first-run television program in history. Quote, "All I wanted to do was create a television show that viewed black people in a more positive light." And as always, wishing you love, peace, and soul. I'd like to thank the National Academy of Television Arts and Sciences, the Chicago Midwest Chapter, and James Dish, Program Chair, for their acknowledgement in granting us the Silver Circle Award. Our family accepts this award gracefully from the bottom of our hearts. In closing, as a national board member of the American Foundation of Suicide Prevention and founder of the Don Cornelius Foundation, I'd like to remind you and your loved ones, as well as those that are sitting around you, that life is beautiful, precious, and worth living. Thank you.
We're going to sidetrack for a moment and focus on those young people back there, the Crystal Pillar Award winners. There is a highlight reel that I think you would be interested in because they're our future. Let's take a look.
The new City Hall project, which was supposed to be constructed where the now demolished Lake County Greenhouse was located on the corner of North Street and Indiana Avenue, has been dormant for 18 months, says CP Mayor David Uran. Uran then went on to state that the COVID-19 pandemic initially put the project on pause, as the city was waiting for the city revenue streams to become more consistent.
There are two industries that call their customers users: drug companies and social media. Last year, TikTok was the most downloaded app on the App Store and was used for 52 minutes a day on average. There's only 24 hours in a day. That's so much time. YouTube is smarter, more in-depth. You get more from this content, but it didn't matter. After an obsessive fan tried to kill her, one TikTok star still didn't care.
Everyone in our generation now wants clout, wants numbers behind their name.
And if you want clout, TikTok's the way to get it. So it begs the question, is YouTube going to die? Probably not.
The late 80s and early 90s brought large shifts in the narrative surrounding gay people in the media. Most of the discussion regarding queer individuals surrounded the AIDS epidemic.
We need to debate this as a policy question because I'm not sure the American public is prepared to make that step, that we would identify persons or HIV carriers within this definition.
As HIV and AIDS began to affect more communities, the fears surrounding it, and in turn gay people, rose. Legislators were pushing for anti-sodomy laws, seeking to criminalize gay people. These laws faced pushback. Many supported the intention of these laws but took issue with the way the legislation was written. The issue many had was with privacy and not discrimination.
You don't seriously think that box is a real time machine, do you?
Well, there's only one way to find out.
See? I told you nothing was gonna happen.
Oh my gosh.
Where are we?
I think we're in Alexander Graham Bell's workshop, inventor of the telephone.
We should probably leave before he sees us.
Yeah, let's get out of here. Souvenir!
Come on, guys.
Nothing heals, and I'm obsessed with you. Then I fell to the ground, and she smiled at me and said, I'm lost, only find time if she's unsure. Find time, stay for the sun. Quiet, lonely, nobody told me. Drifting aside, yeah, running away soon as you let us know.
Yep, we'll be seeing him soon. I'm going to make you all stand up again for applause. Come on, kids. Young ladies and gentlemen. Good job. By the way, thanks to Anthony Lindell, who is a board member who edited that. I think he has a future too in editing. Okay, we have two more inductees. Martha Teichner, you hold the standard for storytelling. You talk, we stop, and we listen. Came from NBC5, and then CBS correspondent for decades, Sunday Morning CBS contributor, and to present her award is a broadcast and cable Hall of Famer, also with MAQ, NBC5, hosted this little show called The Today Show, and now is the host of CBS Sunday Morning, Jane Pauley.
Nothing is more humbling for me than to return to Chicago in a room filled with journalists to honor my friend and colleague, Martha Teichner. Martha and I worked together at WMAQ. I only learned this evening that Martha had arrived months before I had. I was the new girl in town. I knew nothing. I don't know that I even knew that the lake was to the east yet. But I presumed that the young woman that sat up there, Martha Teichner, was already an institution in Chicago, not knowing until tonight Martha had arrived about 5 months before from Miami, and from Miami by way of Grand Rapids, Michigan. Why does everybody arrive from Grand Rapids, Michigan? To the young people in the room, congratulations, and I can't wait to see where you pioneers in journalism are going. But believe it or not, well, we were young ones too. And Martha Teichner is an example of a young woman who wasn't preparing for a career in broadcasting. To know her in the last 30, 40 years is to wonder, what else would she have done? The woman was born for broadcast journalism, but was not preparing for it. Began her career when she answered an ad for a newsman, a radio newsman, and which is how things rolled in those days. And of course, she got the job. Martha has been a preeminent broadcast journalist ever since then. You will see her tape, but I was asked to say a few words about Martha, and I have to laugh. The phrase "few words" and Martha Teichner don't really go together. Martha and words, Martha and ideas and facts, but above all, words. She's my neighbor at the Broadcast Center, which we have not seen a lot of lately. She's next door. If you saw my office, you would see a woman who lived lightly there, didn't leave much evidence, and next door, Martha's office. Martha's office is, well, my boss, Rand Morrison, his office is second only to Martha's. She's not a hoarder. She's read every one of those books. She's kept them all. She leads a life of curiosity, a life of the mind, a life of travel, a life of people. She lives a life. And it's that ability to live a life, I think, that has informed a brilliant career as a broadcast journalist. For Rand Morrison, who's the executive producer of the program, to say that Martha Teichner is the best of the best is saying a lot, because the entire staff of Sunday Morning is the best. But Martha, you are the best of the best. And even in a room full of Chicago journalists, your peers without equal, you still are the class of the field. And let's watch our tape.
Good, got the smile.
Martha Teichner, by any measure, a journalist's journalist.
So it is not only here in El Salvador, but throughout Latin America. These are the children of revolution.
From the very start, her words carried gravitas.
The air thunders with gunfire. Here, only the people with nowhere to go stay. The rebel supply line extends over Tarbal Mountain all the way to Syria and beyond, according to some. Yasser Arafat's supplies end less than a mile from his fighters at the sea. No matter what he says, the question now is how long Yasser Arafat can hold out before there is nothing left of his men and nothing left of Tripoli.
elegant, sophisticated prose that made her CBS Evening News report stand out in the boys' club that was broadcast news in those times.
Martha Teichner is on the scene.
It was left to women to do what had to be done when day finally came, to sisters and aunts and neighbors to wash away the blood, to hang the linen out to dry like ordinary laundry.
The goal of our struggle is in sight.
South Africans, white and black, recognized the enormity of the turning point. The elections marked the moment when reality begins to displace exaggeration, when all their hopes and fears must be confronted.
Fires that turned day into night, a field of flame so devastating to the atmosphere, it's 20 degrees colder here than just 10 miles away. All of Kuwait's oil fields are burning.
The rumble is so loud, it sounds like a jet taking off. By just turning around, I can count more than 40 oil fires on the horizon, all within 15 minutes of downtown Kuwait City.
But the best was yet to come.
This Sunday morning, On the Run with Dr. Ruth.
From the serious and important to the occasionally silly.
Oh, I feel very good. I love peeking through it.
Here we go, Martha.
You might say Martha Teichner is central casting for a program called Sunday Morning.
What are you doing on this show?
Whatever I want to do.
So grab it right about there.
Her curiosity, her enthusiasm for life, a perfect compliment.
Wait, I think I found one. But guess what?
I found one!
You did find one! Yes! Yup.
Found one!
Me. Look at that. Look at it.
Isn't that fantastic?
Wow.
That's why we get up in the morning to find something like that.
No exaggeration. Martha truly embodies the soul of Sunday morning.
Our deaths or theirs, what does it matter? How many families are weeping this day, not dancing in the streets?
Perhaps never more so than when she gives voice to our collective pain.
And here are the Marines now to make sure that it's all, this is it.
You notice the white gloves the officers put on. Death is stealthy. It leaves no fingerprints.
She was on the front lines during the traumatic times of 9/11.
How can we comprehend a morning on which thousands of people, unknowing, woke up, looked at themselves in the mirror for the last time, and got dressed to die? Who could have imagined men and women who just went to work that day, jumping, falling?
And in the ensuing years, she's helped us heal.
Are they the tears of a nation weeping? Or a soothing rain, forever trying to wash away the horror of what happened here?
Now, while Martha Teichner attacks every story with enthusiasm, when it comes to food,
A subject definitely worth its salt. Ever wonder where that saying came from? The answer, later this Sunday morning.
let's just say she never once for gustatory gusto.
So you slurp it. Slurp
Yeah,
it.
you're rolling it around on your palate.
Cheers.
Cheers. Lights out.
It is potent.
It is potent.
Martha?
Thank you, Jane. You're the one who really deserves this because you
broke barriers in Chicago and everywhere else. And thank you to Natus and all the people that I had to thank would more than fill this room along the way in my career. When Carol Marine called and told me that I was going to receive this award, I couldn't believe it. I was just flabbergasted. But I didn't say no. Right after I started working at WMAQ in 1975, I was sent to cover a Mayor Daily news conference. The assignment editor said he wanted me to ask His Honor a specific question. Richard J. Daley was a guy who could eat you alive. Intimidating was a wishy-washy word for the mayor. I was a little scared when I was called on, but the reporter in me couldn't wait to hear what he had to say. So I asked my question. What do you think of the proposal to move the Chicago Bears to Arlington Heights? There was a moment of silence. Then the mayor began sucking in air. He appeared to swell up. He kept getting redder and redder, and then came the explosion. Something to the effect of, "Who in hell ever heard of the Arlington Bears?" And I thought, ooh, this is going to be good, covering the news in Chicago. My mother was born and raised in Chicago. My parents met at Marshall Fields. For me, the city on the lake had always been the city on the hill. By the age of 3, I had asked my parents whether Uncle Normie, Norman Ross, was really my uncle. His voice made it all the way across the lake to our big console radio in rural northern Michigan. As a teenager in Grand Rapids, I remember I was washing my mother's car the first time I heard the Rolling Stones belting out Satisfaction on WLS. Every high school student I knew listened to WLS. Starting out in television, I understood what a great news town Chicago was. I was in awe of the who's who of great print reporters and important network news correspondents who had worked in Chicago. I could taste how much I wanted to get good enough to work here too. I went from WZZM in Grand Rapids to WTVJ in Miami, and then at last arrived at WMAQ. Reporters at Channel 5 took turns coming in before dawn to do the 5-minute local cut-ins at 25 minutes past the hour during the Today Show. You sat in a tiny studio, no one else around, the voice of an unseen booth announcer in your ears. I felt like I was broadcasting from the blackness at the bottom of the ocean. I used to stare into the automated camera, and imagine all the little lit-up windows, in all the high-rise buildings up and down the Lake Michigan shoreline, and all the people inside. And I'd think, I'm here in Chicago. As it turned out, I only spent 3 years here. In 1977, I was hired by CBS News and transferred to Atlanta, and then to London, Dallas, Johannesburg, London again, and finally to New York, where I've been based since the end of 1993, working for CBS Sunday Morning. When I was told I was to receive the Silver Circle Award, I asked myself, what on earth did I contribute to Chicago television, having spent so many years elsewhere? All I could think of was that other women might have seen how Chicago became a springboard or a launch pad for me, and therefore could be for them too. If I did a good job as I moved along, if I held my own and even distinguished myself, covering serious stories all over the world, perhaps I opened a pathway for the women who aspired to follow me. It was tough for women in the 70s when I was starting out. Every advance was a struggle. During the Lebanon War, the male correspondents in CBS's foreign bureaus were sent to Beirut in rotation, required to go. I was the only woman correspondent CBS News had anywhere overseas for years. I was told I couldn't go, but I maintained a valid visa at all times, knowing that one day the foreign desk would run out of men to send, and I would be ready. It was the fall of 1983. I'm not sure it was the first of my Beirut pieces to appear on the CBS Evening News. It was certainly the first one in which I had to crawl on my stomach in the rain to evade snipers and crouch next to fighters as they fired rockets. Bang, bang, to make the big boys proud. I was told by someone who was in the room that when the president and vice president of CBS News saw the piece, they complained that my hair wasn't perfect. I was told by someone who worked at WBBM for many years, someone sitting right there, that when the piece aired, the women in the newsroom cheered, here in Chicago. I was touched, but throughout my career, whatever I did for myself, so that I could hold my head up and know that I was regarded by audiences, competitors, and my bosses as an equal to men doing the same job. I wasn't necessarily the first woman to do something or go somewhere, but I was almost always among the first. I've been working in television for 50 years. A lot has changed. Nobody thinks twice anymore about seeing a woman war correspondent or a woman anchor, a woman who isn't a token. But usually, it's a young woman. How amazing it is to me that I am among the women who helped break down barriers so long ago, like Jane Pauley, right here in Chicago, women who are now battering away, trying to do it again. We're bookending our careers, demanding respect and airtime, just like our veteran male counterparts. Sunday morning is a good place to be taken seriously, and our executive producer, Rand Morrison, is a good and fair-minded man. I'm 74, still working, still loving telling stories to millions of people, hanging in there. There's a lot to be said for endurance, and if that's a message that I can send to women reporters here and the people who employ them, I'd like that to be my contribution to Chicago television. Thank you.
Jim Dish was the one who said, "I could listen to her all night." Our final inductee is the head of a news dynasty. Yes, we've heard that many times, but how proud he must be of his kids and how proud his kids must be of him. Of course, we're talking about Phil Ponce. WBBM started out and then made his mark at WTTW. His wonderful sons, Dan, Anthony, and his beautiful daughter, Maria, are here to present his award.
Well, a lot of you know Anthony, but it's nice to stare at the stage with Maria. She's widely considered the best-looking and smartest Ponce sibling for completely avoiding television news altogether. Congratulations, Maria. You know, my dad never really encouraged Anthony and me to go into broadcast journalism, but when we made that decision ourselves, he was quick to offer advice and, tips for navigating the business and performance and, trust and respect your photographer. That was huge for him. But above all, he told us to be kind and make sure that your facts are accurate. Phil Ponce led by example. He is the gold standard of Chicago TV news and a pioneer for Latino journalists. Today you see the Latinx community well represented on TV stations throughout Chicago, but it wasn't always like that, especially not in the early 80s. But he worked hard along names like Bill Curtis, Walter Jacobson, John Calloway, Carol Marine. And to the young journalists who are here today, what made Phil Ponce a great broadcaster wasn't his talent, his humor, his hard work. It's because he cares very deeply about the people who watched him every night.
I just will talk from the heart because that's all I know about my dad. He always led his career and also his example as being a father with the strongest moral compass that one can imagine. And he has set the standard for my brothers and I, and also our own children, on how we live our life every day. So I just want to say thank you to him for that.
There is not a more qualified group to judge the personal and professional integrity of a street reporter than the news photographers. Some of whom are in the room tonight, many of whom are in the room tonight, and when I first started in this market, I don't know if it was every day or every week that we would hear from news crews, not just from your own station, but from the other stations, about how great your dad is, and tell your dad I said hi. If you can win over the news crews, you've done something right, because they see you at your worst. You're working with them in good weather, in horrible weather, in good neighborhoods, in crummy neighborhoods. And that really struck me when I first started in this market, just how the crews from all over town, Dad, would sing your praises. My other big memory from growing up, and I'm sure Dan and Maria share this, is going to that old building on McClure Court, which was in Derrick's piece, and walking into the lobby and seeing my dad's picture lined up on the wall. There was just something really impressive about that. Didn't that make an impact on you? Just seeing him on that wall and seeing all the pieces tonight and hearing from everybody who's been honored tonight, I'm having so I had moments back then of, gosh, this is cool. My dad is remarkable for being on that wall, and I'm having another moment that tonight he's on this wall. So Maria, Dan and I, and Fiona and Maya, who's on his lap right now, and I know my mom, we're all so proud of you, Dad. So let's take a look at this video done by Paris Schutz, his colleague.
Those are among the questions that we'll explore this evening, right after this background report from a man we're pleased and proud to welcome as our new correspondent, Phil Ponce.
With those words, nearly 30 years ago, Chicago Tonight founder John Calloway introduced the man who would eventually become the face of news and public affairs at WTTW.
The Chicago area has some of the most influential representatives in Congress, and not surprisingly, they want to keep their jobs.
In that time, Ponce established himself as the city's premier television moderator and interviewer.
Now a discussion of this Wisconsin plan led by the NewsHour's new national correspondent, Phil Ponce.
But not before his work caught the attention of the PBS NewsHour in 1997, when legendary anchor Jim Lara hired Ponce as a correspondent and host.
Thank you, Jim. Is Wisconsin a model for the rest of the nation?
When John Calloway retired in 1999, there was little doubt who he would pass the torch to.
As John was stepping away, the person he wanted to step into that place was Phil. And I don't think there is a higher compliment than that, frankly.
Phil Ponce was born in McAllen, Texas, and raised in East Chicago, Indiana, the son of immigrant steelworkers and one of 9 kids. At Bishop Noel Institute in Hammond, Ponce gravitated toward the arts, landing starring roles in productions of Bye Bye Birdie and The Music Man. He graduated with an English degree at Indiana University. He's pictured here with his now wife of 50 years, Anne. Ponce then got a law degree from the University of Michigan and embarked on a 6-year career as an attorney.
He always says, you know, he has no problem with being an attorney, but it just wasn't for him.
Ponce became a weekend reporter at WRTV in Indianapolis.
Why do so many people hate cats? Why do they arouse such strong feelings?
I think it goes back to mythology.
And not long after, wound up in Chicago at Channel 2.
He says what's especially significant about the day happened earlier.
I know he loved his days as a street reporter for Channel 2, and he wouldn't take those years back, but it set him up to land at his true home at Channel 11, and that's where he really, I think, connected with Chicago.
Over the weekend, Chicago was the epicenter in a movement which appears to be growing.
As Chicago Tonight host and moderator, Ponce built on Calloway's template of fair-minded yet probing interviews, steering the debate on the issues of the day.
So the first thing is he does his homework.
Okay.
And he does more homework.
Anyone can come up with a list of questions. It's about the listening. That's what makes a good interview.
And that's the hardest thing to do, is to listen aggressively during an interview on live television.
Every once in a while, those interviews could turn contentious.
One of the interviews that is seared into my memory is when he pounded on the table on the set of Chicago Tonight. He goes, "Stop it!"
I'm an American too.
Alderman, I'm going to insist on civility in this discussion. Please, the 4 of you.
All right, now
Shall we proceed?
Yeah,
Shall we? What makes you different from the congressman and from Senator Trotter?
Well, one of the things that we've talked about throughout this campaign is that I don't think there are a lot of ideological differences. I think all 3 of us are progressive urban Democrats.
It was on Chicago Tonight that a young community organizer turned Southside state senator began to establish his bona fides as a serious political figure. And then that state senator became a U.S. senator, surrounded by nonstop buzz about seeking even higher office.
Speaking of the presidency, I'm looking at a clip from something called sportsbook.com. I don't know if you heard about that, but they list your odds of being the next president as 30-1. Which puts you ahead of Florida Governor Jeb Bush. His odds are listed at 35-1, but you're behind Hillary Clinton at 6-1.
Well, that's pretty good considering I've ruled it out.
Another Illinois political figure, this one awash with rumors of corruption and poor fiscal management, found himself the unfortunate recipient of Ponce's tough and direct questioning.
His budget, shortchanges the state's employee pension by fund by more than $1 billion. How big a mess are you leaving that other people are going to have to clean up?
We are, I think, in a position where our fiscal house is in order.
But Ponce's legacy is far from limited to serious political coverage. He could also have some fun.
John Cleese, you were very first tonight. Thank you very much.
Thank you. That was fun.
And you smell good too, Mr. Fields. What?
Can I use that as a theme show for Chicago Tonight?
No.
Perhaps Ponce's proudest legacy, the fact that a viewer can flip through Chicago's TV channels and stand a good chance of landing on a different Ponce.
Please welcome our dad, Phil Ponce.
Wow. Dan, Anthony, and Maria, thank you very much for that loving introduction. Not that you had any choice. And thanks to Jay Smith and Parrish Schutz for putting that tape piece together. I don't know about you, but I found my story very inspiring. Very moving, really. I also want to thank Natus for this recognition, and I congratulate the other honorees. One of the things Derrick talked about earlier, and it's been kind of a theme throughout this evening, is the fact that you heard that the requirement to be given this recognition is that you have at least 25 years in the business, and anyone knows that if you have any kind of longevity in this business, you have an army behind you. I once read that television attracts the vaguely talented. And I kind of think myself as vaguely talented. But it's the army of people that have helped me and helped all of us honorees. I think Martha, Derrick, all of us know that we didn't do this by ourselves. We had people helping us, people who actively mentored us or inspired us just by example. And I've had an army. You've had an army. Derrick, you've had an army. All of us have had an army of people. And so I just, like Derrick said, there are some people whose names just have to be mentioned, even though they're not around anymore. So I would just like to highlight a couple, 3 people who were part of my army, who were key. When I was trying to break into television in Indianapolis, I saw a fellow Latino on television named Tom Alvarez, and I just cold called him and said, I want to be a television reporter. And based on the guidance that he gave me, I got my first job. And I got on-the-job training in Indianapolis from photographers like a fellow named Bob Sproul's, who taught me about cutaways, taught me about stand-ups. This is not journalism school. This is, OJT, on-the-job training. One of the things Bob didn't tell me when I did my first live shot, I had no idea that a producer would talk to you in your earpiece. I didn't know. No one told me. So I'm at a crime scene. Gosh, this is awful. There's a dead body in a car slumped behind me, and I'm trying, no information, and I'm trying to come up with something that's vaguely rational and informative. It wasn't. And then the producer back at WRTV Channel 6 whispered something in my ear, and I was not expecting it, and so on the air I said, What? Who is this? Not a good beginning. Frank Gardner and Jim Zarchin hired me at Channel 2, and I was still green, and they gave me extra training and feedback, and I really appreciated it. Jim Zarchin was such an ally that when he told me he was being transferred to New York, I literally burst into tears in front of him. We were in an edit room. I'll never forget it. You've all cried when bosses have left, haven't you? It's true. I had editors like Deb Siegel, who saved my butt so many times. Deb, I wrote this before I knew you were going to be here. She'd have a piece ready for the top of the 10 or the top of the 6, 15 minutes after I recorded a track. 15 minutes. She kept saying, we're not going to make it, and she's pushing all these buttons. We made it. And I had outstanding Channel 2 photographers like Jim Ryan, Bill Burke, Spiro Lambernatos, John Leontis, and Morris Jones. Morris Jones, wicked smart, funny, big heart. There are some photographers, and we've all had this experience where you assign a particular photographer and you go, oh God, I've got to manage that person and come up with a story. There were other photographers, though, when you got them, like the people I mentioned, you knew you were going to have a good day. When I was assigned Morris Jones, I knew I was going to have a good day. We miss him. But there were people in my army who taught me by example, colleagues like Mike Flannery, Dorothy Tucker, Burley Hines. Speaking of Channel 2 colleagues, in the Channel 2 newsroom, Frank Gardner will remember this, we once upon a time had a communal printer. You'd send your script to the printer and go to one printer, and everyone sent their stuff to a printer. Once I went to get a story, and I saw a memo there, multiple copies of a memo. And it was prepared by the assistant news director at the time for an incoming news director, and it summarized each on-air person. Star, anchor, solid reporter,
No star quality. That's exactly what the topic said, and guess whose name was under it? I'm not going to tell you who it was, but her initials were Colleen Dudgeon. Frank, you didn't have anything to do with that memo, did you? No, he's shaking his head no. I believe you. And I learned by watching people at other stations, great reporters, great journalists like Paul Meinke, Marianne Ahern, Phil Rogers is here, and Dick Johnson. Talk about somebody with versatility. Dick Johnson, my God. I will tell you that he and I, every now and then he and I would be staked out on the same story and we'd just shoot the breeze. You know what he always talked about every single time? His family. He knew, and it was clear from talking to him, that the whole point of the exercise of him doing what he did, providing a living, was for his family, and he talked about you. He loved you a lot. 3 people in particular have had a huge influence on me professionally. Jim Lara taught me loads about fairness and balance when I worked for him at the NewsHour. John Calloway taught me so much about preparation and questioning. And Carol Moraine has taught me so much about a lot of things, but mainly about passion and perseverance. Carol has been a huge ally for me, and Carol, I thank you, and I'll always love you for it. I've had brilliant, fair, engaging bosses I came to love. V.J. McAleer, Mary Field, Jay Smith, Mary and Jay are at the table. And general managers who supported Chicago Tonight, and me, most recently Sandra Cordova-Misek, and the friendship of board members, people you know from the community, giants in Chicago like the Minnows, the Maybes, the Nichols, and the Crowns. Lastly, Anne, who stuck with me as I careened from career to career, our children, Dan, Anthony, Maria, and the outstanding people they married, Amy, Trey, and Maggie, they're all here, and our grandchildren, Fiona, Maya, Alessandra, Theo, and Geronimo. Fiona and Maya are waving madly. You want to stand up and be recognized? Stand up, yay! But Dick Johnson was right. If it were not for our families, this whole exercise really would have no point. Again, I'm grateful for this honor, but the best part of the honor for me is the thought that maybe I was part of somebody else's army. I sure hope so. Thank you very much.
Do you want to keep going? What an outstanding evening tonight. One last applause for our new members, Silver Circle. You serve as inspiration to the young men and women behind us, and you young men and women, we look forward to seeing you in the future. Now, if you didn't get enough of it tonight, May 29th, on the U, Sunday, 7 o'clock, 90 minutes of what we just experienced. So mark it on your calendars. It's also on the pamphlet. We have to end. I'm sorry, we have to end. Drive safely. Thank you for a wonderful evening. One last request. If all of the inductees could come up and as a group photo. So before you leave, everybody come on up with those beautiful awards for a photo. Thank you.